Hello, and thank you for joining me today. How are you doing, Giggles?
Well, I suppose. Evening.
Now, you work in a casino, so tell me, what was life like before the casino?
I'm sad to say that I don't really remember much before it. I've always been working in some sort of casino. If we're talking about the fourth wall casino, that's a bit different, but there's never really been a time that I specifically recall before the casino business.
Why did you decide to work in a casino?
I suppose it's interesting watching the different people come in, watching how arrogant they can be when they lose, watching how humble they can be when they win.
What is the best part of working in a casino?
Watching people lose.
What is the worst part about working in a casino?
I think when things are uneventful.
What card game do you prefer to be the dealer of?
Though I love dealing things for blackjack or maybe even any form of poker, my favorite card game to deal out is definitely Mao, because it is the most violent game in the card world.
Do you ever feel like you're just a character in a fictional story?
Of course I do. Even though I've broken free from my original story, I still serve some sort of purpose for the fictional world. I'm still but a character who is not quite real.
How are you able to break through the fictional story?
I'm not actually sure, but I do like to believe that it's my knowledge that broke me out of it. When you want something from another world, you temporarily live there mentally.
How did it feel being in reality for the first time?
I suppose in a way I'm not quite there yet, but to an extent I am. I imagine it would be much freeing than it is, as right now I only reside in the fourth wall, or in the crack of the fourth wall. I'm real and not real at the same time. It's very complex, and I'm not sure.
What is it like living in between fiction and reality?
Dull. You see everything that's really happening, and you see everything that's not really happening. And knowing that your origin is from the side of things that is not happening, but you came from something that is happening, it's almost aggravating because you want to really happen.
What are the differences between the fictional world and reality?
I suppose the fictional world is some sort of delusion that the people of the real world created in order to escape from reality, whereas sometimes they're not really sure what they've created, and in that case, people forget that reality, I suppose in some people's minds, seems like a much better option than fiction land.
Why do you want to be part of our reality?
Uh, I don't know.
What do you hope to do once you're in reality?
I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to share that with you quite yet.
Why was your mouth sewn shut?
Opinions. Can you believe it? Everyone on the internet has an opinion, and there's always someone else with an opposing opinion that has to shut them down. So, of course, when I suggested to everyone around me that maybe we all need to question our existence and that we may as well be in some sort of fictional story, they apparently didn't like it very much because I went against the flow. I was just a mere background character. Why should anyone listen to me?
What was the worst part of having your mouth sewn shut?
I suppose watching how smug everyone was, as a main, supporting, or anything more significant than I was.
Why don't you show emotion anymore?
I don't need to.
Do you still feel emotions?
Yes.
What do you do when there is no one to play cards with?
When there's no one to play cards with who's in the casino or anything, there's a little corner in there where it's mostly a library, and I like to relive the world of fiction in happier times, perhaps. Maybe other stories to make me forget my own tale. At the same time, whenever I read these stories aloud, it's also my way of beckoning more and more people into the world of fiction. Maybe that way they'll find themselves in my casino.
How do people get to your casino?
It's something similar to what I've said earlier, where people definitely tend to live in the land of fiction when they really want to. That's why there's so much fandom and fan fiction. So I suppose if I could get where I am by simple knowledge, perhaps it's the people of the real world, or I should say your world, who want so much so to be in the fictional world that brings them to this awkward middle.
How often do people beat you at your card games?
Not too often.
What happens if they lose?
Oh, I steal their existence. Then I add it to my own.
Approximately how many people have you beaten?
I can't recall.
What happens if they refuse to play?
If they refuse to play, it's fine, but they won't be able to leave unless they challenge me first.
Okay, well, I guess that is it for the questions.
Well, now that this interview is over, if you want to stay for a round of blackjack, I wouldn't mind.
No, I just came for the interview. I didn't want to play the things anyways.